Hey everybody, Dave here, Hidden Off Grid, and welcome to another video. In this video, I want to talk about procrastination, just like I procrastinated making this video. I kind of want to just touch on, my thoughts on procrastination, get philosophical here. I don't even know what that word means. No real science to back up anything I'm saying. This just is coming out of my head. I think in general, everybody probably gets affected by procrastination in one way or another. I don't care who you are, the 7 billion people on this earth probably procrastinate in some, fashion or another, right? I mean, it's just probably human nature. So let me kind of just talk about procrastination in general and maybe kind of talk about some of the things that I procrastinate about or in the past, or maybe the things now or something like that. So I think procrastination in general can manifest itself in weird ways, strange ways, right? Procrastination is not necessarily things you don't want to do. Sometimes it can manifest itself in a way where there's a deadline, right? It needs to be done by such and such date, or it needs to be done implied by this date, but in general, if you pass that date, there's no real consequences. And then there's some procrastination where if you don't get it done by such and such date, then there's, kind of a pretty bad consequence, right? And a good example of that would be like, okay, you're in school, you got to write a paper, and guess what? The deadline's in a week, right? So that is a deadline where there's consequences. And there's other type of deadlines too, where let's just say, you have to change your oil every 3,000 miles, at least that's what they tell you, right? And you're at like, 3,010 miles or something like that. So do you have to do it right at 3,000 miles? That's kind of an implied, deadline, but people procrastinate changing their oil, right? So, and this funny thing about that is I don't procrastinate changing my oil. I don't really care. It's not something that I want to do. So procrastination is not always something that you don't want to do. Like I don't mind changing my oil, but at the same time, like, do I want to get dirty? Do I want to lay on my back and go out and change my oil, But at the same time, why is it quote unquote, right, air quotes, that's something that men, or just in general, people don't want to take out the trash, right? Why do people have to be reminded to take out the trash? Why do they have to get bickered at to take out the trash? Okay, now I don't know if I've ever been bickered at to take out the trash. I don't really care. I'll go take out the trash. I don't procrastinate to take out the trash. So, but why do people procrastinate taking out the trash? It's not something that requires a lot of work. It doesn't require a lot of mind, a lot of thinking. It doesn't require any research. It's not hard, right? So I would say changing the oil is, a lot more work than taking out the trash. So why do people kind of just not take out the trash, right? So, I can kind of touch on procrastination in general, on the things that I procrastinated about, and then I'm going to kind of touch on some of the things how to deal with it, at least how I deal with it. In general, I'm a pretty scatterbrained type of person. I've always been pretty scatterbrained, even though I'm kind of like a type A personality. And in general, I used to get picked on by my dad, when we were playing cards. They used to everybody fan out their cards, right? Everybody that plays cards knows how to fan cards, right? Well, everything in we were playing canasta, and I was starting to pull out deuces over here, and pulling deuces over here, and pulling deuces from the middle. I'm pulling out, jacks from over here, jacks from over here. So in general, I'm fanned out with, 15, 20 cards, and I'm pulling out stuff from all over. My fanned out, well, come to find out, nothing's fanned out in my deck at all, or my hand at all. And part of the reason why it wasn't fanned out was because I'm left-handed, and cards are not really meant to be fanned out left-handed. You gotta fan them out the other way, and I just don't fan them out that way. I try to do that nowadays, but at the same time, 20, 30 years ago, that's just how I dealt with it. That doesn't have anything to do with procrastination, but I'm just telling you that I'm a kind of a scatterbrained person just in general. But at the same time, I'm kind of organized, kind of type A at the same time. But anyway, so I think for me, the biggest thing I procrastinated about was writing papers, okay? Now, I just do not like writing papers. I still don't like writing anything. I can't even write blog posts, and that's kind of on my own accord, right? Like there's nobody told me that I need to do it. There's no deadline. I can pretty much do it anytime I want, but I still just don't like doing it. And the thing with this is I don't even have to do it, so there's really no procrastination there. But what if I set my mind to it? I could procrastinate on it. So writing papers in general in school was probably one of the number one things I procrastinated about. I'd say another thing that I hated always was going to the dentist. And the thing with me is once I get in with the dentist, and I've been going there for a while, and they put me on a schedule, I'll show up. Like I won't procrastinate, I won't delay it, I won't reschedule or anything like that. But if I need to find a new dentist, it's off the radar, and I just don't care. I'll procrastinate. I won't set up a new one because I just know they're going to go through the whole rigmarole. That has consequences, though, right? So what about procrastination where it's on your mind constantly, and if you don't take care of it, you're literally going to think about it nonstop, right? But there's potential blockers there. There's prerequisites there. Okay, I can't even say that word, prerequisites. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to retire next year, right? I have about 9 or 10 months or so until I retire next year, and I'm looking to retire in April-ish of 2022. Well, there's a lot of stuff, a buttload of stuff that I need to get done. And I've only taken care of just a little bit of stuff. Like I've thrown stuff away, I've gotten some boxes, I really haven't packed much, I've gone through this, I've gone through that. So I'm not necessarily procrastinating, I'm just taking my sweet old time, right? So, and part of the reason why I think I'm doing that is just because I'm not 100% sure whether I'm gonna be able to retire in April 2022. I'm 80-90% sure I'm going to be able to, but if something happens, drastic or whatever then maybe I won't do it. And well, guess what? Well, some of the things I'm procrastinating on are things that I don't want to undo, right? Like what if you put a 60-day notice in for your apartment? Well, obviously I'm a long way from that, but that's something that's really hard to undo. Like they could just fill your apartment in, and guess what? You're gonna have to move. Like you're gonna be forced to move. So there's things where I call it the point of no return. That's kind of a blocker, right? You don't want to do something you can't undo. So those things could get in your way. That's causing your procrastination. And I'm kind of dealing with that a little bit right now. I don't want to get rid of all my furniture yet because I'm still using it, right? So why, not have furniture for 10 months, right? I'm going to still have a bed, but, why would I get rid of my desk? Why would I get rid of, my monitors here? Why would I get rid of my TVs? Why would I get rid of my couch, right? So that stuff still can wait. For me, there's a lot of this stuff comes down to things that are just going to be constantly on my mind, and if I don't get them taken off the list, then it could back up. There's gonna be more stuff out of the list. And so that's called nested procrastination in a way, right? If you don't take care of your oil, well, guess what? That could cause the engine to not run correctly, or it could cause, poor performance or something like that. So there's definitely consequences with that, but I don't even know where I'm going with that train of thought. But in general, okay, so this is how I like to deal with procrastination, because when I was doing my bachelor's, I really struggled. I waited till the last minute to write my papers. And then when I got into my master's program, I literally was probably a week ahead on papers, which was kind of odd because I just got used to it. I had I don't know what it was, but I just felt better. I'm like, you know what? Just get words on paper. You can fine tune it the rest of the time right before the deadline, right? You don't have to turn it in early or anything. You don't get, bonus points for turning it in early. So guess what? A week ahead of time, I just get the words on the paper. I'll do the research. I get the words on the paper. It's garbage. Don't get me wrong, it's garbage, but guess what? The rest of the week, I can fine tune it, and then by the time it's due, it's almost perfect. It's perfect. It's Dave perfect, right? So that is one way to deal with procrastination. Take it in small steps, right? Do, if you got a month left, do, 10 minutes each day. Do it 1 hour each day. Or if you got a week left or something like that, do 10 minutes this day, 10 minutes the next day, or an hour this day and an hour next day. break it up. It's not as hard, right? When I used to go to the gym, now I'm, well, fat now, but when I used to go to the gym, there'd be days where I'd be laying in bed, I'm like, I don't really want to go, it's like, I'm like, you know what, just go, just get on the treadmill, right? Just go there, get on the treadmill, and before you know it, you get on the treadmill, it's like you start feeling better, getting all pep in your step, and then before you know it, you're sitting down at the bench and you're pumping out, 235 pounds, right? It's a new freaking record for you. So I don't know what it is about that. Like I don't even go to the gym anymore, but when I was going to the gym, there was days where I was really excited to go and just, and then some days where I just procrastinated, didn't really want to go, didn't feel like going, but just show up. That's like, 90% of the work, just showing up. And guess what? Once you show up, you start feeling better. I don't know. And then before you know it, like you're moving from the treadmill to the bench, you're moving over to the elliptical, you're moving over to the bike. And before you know it, you got a whole workout in, right? So that touches on quite a bit of stuff, and it's a little bit of a all over the place type of video. Obviously, everybody I think is probably going to deal with procrastination one way or another. Even in my adult life now, like I'm not going to school, it's like everything that I have to do is something that I'm the one doing it, or I'm the one that wants to do it, right? So procrastination is not always something you don't want to do, or doesn't always have to have a deadline necessarily. And most of the time it's usually a deadline, because I think that is, waiting to the last minute is quote unquote what procrastination really means. But there could be different things, different, scenarios too, right? Where I need to get stuff done at work. There's not necessarily a deadline for it. But if I procrastinate doing that task, I'm going to be constantly thinking about it nonstop, 24/7. So that's a type of procrastination that's kind of a reverse procrastination, right? So if I don't get it done, I'm going to be constantly thinking about it and needing to get it done. So anyways, what do you procrastinate about? What's the number one thing you procrastinate about? How do you deal with it? Comment below. So interested to hear your thoughts on it. So anyways, I hope everybody had a great week. Until next time, please go ahead and like and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.